Thank you so much, Hans, for centering us as you do each week to begin our service. And good morning. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Columbia Online, a congregation striving to embody courageous love, radical welcome, and deep connection. We are so grateful for our gathering this morning, remembering, as we have been doing for a year now, that our congregation is not a building, but is a beloved community of all of us together. Our building has been put to good use in these last 3 months, hosting our local unsheltered emergency winter shelter room at the inn. And they are here this morning moving out, the staff, after a successful and very challenging pandemic winter season. And we congratulate them and thank them for all of the work they have done providing safety and shelter to our neighbors. I'm the Reverend Molly Housh Gordon, minister of this congregation, and I'm so glad to welcome you to our community. Although we miss gathering in person on Sundays so much, our online services have given us an opportunity to connect with folks we might not have met otherwise, near and far. We welcome in particular any members of the Jefferson City Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, as well as all of you visiting with us from Missouri and beyond. We always like to share a few comments about protocol for our online worship. We are on Zoom and streaming live on Facebook. If you're with us on Zoom, we're in webinar mode, so we can't hear or see you. Don't worry about any noisiness or PJs happening in your home today. You will be able to say hello and interact with the service on Zoom through the chat feature and on Facebook in the comments. If you're with us on Zoom, make sure you select everyone or panelists and attendees so we can all see your comment. Otherwise, it'll just come to the service leaders. This is particularly useful when you want to share a joy or sorrow later in the service. A few notes about accessibility. We are using Zoom's native auto captioning service, which means that you will see automatically generated subtitles at the bottom of your screen if you are with us on Zoom. You will have several options for those if you click the closed caption or a transcript button. If you don't want to see the subtitles or find them distracting, you can click hide subtitles, or if you prefer them to appear as a live transcript at the side of the screen, you can choose view full transcript to make that change. We know that auto captioning is never entirely accurate and is sometimes a source of some chuckles, but we hope that it will be helpful. We will also be providing spoken descriptions of the videos and images we use. And we'd like to invite you to contact us if you have any other accessibility or inclusion needs that we can strive to meet in our online worship. You can email me at minister@uucomo.org. If this is your first time worshiping with us, we'd like to invite you to fill out a digital visitor's card at the link provided in the chat so we can learn a little bit about you and your interests. And as always, I'd like to thank the folks that make our online worship possible and have been for a year. Thank you today to our online usher, Larry Lyle, our worship associate, Tim Dickerson, and church member musicians, Sam Buffalo and Sam Otten. As always, we are grateful for our amazing staff, April Rodegaro running slides, religious educator, Jamila Batchelder, music director, Jeremy Wagner, and staff pianist, Hans Bridger-Harith. As I've alluded a couple of times, this morning marks 1 year since our first online services in the very early days of the pandemic, when we all suddenly realized the gravity of the situation and scrambled to do whatever we could to keep each other safe. It's amazing to remember how little we knew and imagined then about what lay ahead of us. Excuse me. Today, we pause to remember, to grieve, to reflect, and to look ahead. Our music this morning will take us through a bit of a journey of the year we've had. For this morning's prelude, we will be sharing for the second time our first ever virtual choir video, made very early in the pandemic as part of a larger project, setting UU poet Lynn Unger's poem, Pandemic, to music. This poem by Lynn Unger was written on March 11th, 2020. It is still very beautiful, and hearing it now also reminds me of how little we knew then and how different life was. It was written before we lost 500,000 Americans, some of them our very own beloveds. Before we saw how our lives would shape themselves to fill up a year and more of constriction. The video pictures a central square with a large virtual choir unaffiliated with our congregation, and around the edges of the frame are videos of our own choir members adding their voices to the song. For your reference, we will post the lyrics in the chat.
Our opening words this morning are entitled, "The Church Has Left the Building," by Reverend Margaret Weiss. The church is not a place, it is a people. The church is not only a steeple above the tree line, streets, and cars. Rather, it is a people proclaiming to the world that we are here for the work of healing and of justice. The church is not walls built stone upon stone, held together by mortar, but rather person, linked with person, linked with person, all ages and genders and abilities. A community built on the foundation of reason, faith, and love. The church is not just a set of doors open on Sunday morning, but the commitment day after day and moment after moment of our hearts creaking open the doors of welcome to the possibility of new experience and radical welcome. The church is not simply a building, a steeple, a pew. The church is the gathering together of all the people and experiences and fear and love and hope in our resilient hearts. Gathering however we can to say to the world, welcome, come in, lay down your heartache and pick up hope and love. For this church is us, each and every one of us together, a beacon of hope to this world that so sorely needs it.
Our opening hymn is one we have shared again and again in this past year. As we have endured and experienced and awakened ever more deeply to the interlocking pandemics of COVID-19 and white supremacy and extractive capitalism that have made this disastrous time ever more disastrous. We have sung these words of hope and commitment all year, that we will not go back to normal, that we will learn, that we will do better, that we will be a part of transformation, knowing, as Arundhati Roy has written, that a pandemic can be a portal, that we can go through the threshold carrying all of the evils of our former time with us, or we can step through lighter and more dedicated to freedom and thriving and better for all. The hymn is Circle Round for Freedom and is led in this video by Dr. Glenn Thomas Rideout, the director of worship and music at the UU Church in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Dr. Rideout is pictured in the video, a man with brown skin and long dreadlocks pulled back from his face. He is in an office with art on the wall and spiritual objects like candles and a singing bowl scattered across the desk. He leans on the desk and sings with emotion, his hand slowly circling along with the lyrics of the song. The lyrics are shown at the bottom of the video, and we will also post them in the chat. We invite you to sing along from home.
Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for its soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom. Circle round for peace. For all of us imprisoned. Circle for release. Circle for the planet. Circle for each soul. For the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom. Circle round for peace. For all of us imprisoned. Circle for release. Circle for the planet. Circle for each soul. For the children of our children. Keep the circle whole.
We now light our chalice, the symbol of our faith in the community that holds us, and the bright flame of the human spirit that unites us. As we share an image of our church chalice on the screen, you may wish to light a candle at home or look in the chat for a digital chalice. And then if you would please join me in lifting your voices in homes across our city, country, and world to share our weekly words of affirmation shown on the slide and shared in the chat. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Good morning. So it has been 1 year since we moved church to online. And in our service 1 year ago, we created together sacred spaces within our home. We made an altar. I don't know if you all remember that far back. And we put on our altar something from nature to ground us, a reminder of our ancestors, to help us think about the strength that is our birthright, and something to remind us of our highest values and to guide us toward our purpose during this pandemic. So maybe some of you have kept up your home altars. Maybe you needed to use that space to create your home office or your child's Zoom school space and have let it fall by the wayside. But today, on this 1-year anniversary, I encourage you to rebuild your altar. When I think back to when we built it a year ago, I don't think any of us knew what the future would hold, how long this would be going on for. And so now today, the things that I would put on my altar are different. I have a space set up for me here. And the first thing that I think about how this year is different than I expected is that it was really sad in a lot of ways. I mean, I will go forward carrying a lot of grief from this time. And to hold and honor that, I included on my altar a bowl of salt water to symbolize the tears that have been shed in this year. I also think about the tools that have gotten us through this. And the first thing that came to mind is, of course, the mask. This was a mask made for me by a church member, Madeline Lemieux, the first mask I got in the pandemic. And it reminds me of being a practical tool to protect me, and also the sacred tool that reminded me of the way we all hold responsibility for each other. My second mask had the words on it: my mask protects you and your mask protects me. And this major change we made in our lives, so we all started wearing masks, was a profound act of community. I also put on my chalice this box containing the many, many cards and notes people have sent me during the pandemic. That's helped me maintain that sense of connection. How profoundly I appreciate all of you, all the people in my life, and how that has been such an important part of what I've missed and also what has gotten me through this time. And then I thought, all right, we're at the final push. What do I need? What spiritual energy do I need to pull me through to the end? And the daffodils were blooming in my yard this week, and they're so relentlessly cheerful. And they remind me of something my grandmother used to say to me all the time, that we can't choose what happens to us, but we can choose to be cheerful in the face of it. And so that's what I need for this last bit. So now I want to encourage you to make your own altar of the things that have gotten you through this time, and also the things you'll carry forward after this time. So you might want to include something to honor and hold grief. You might want to include a sacred tool that has been useful to you. You might want to include something that reminds you of community and connection. And then something that gives you the energy for the final push through this difficult time. So I want to give you 2 minutes now to gather materials and to rebuild that sacred space within your home that you probably didn't know you would need a year later. So take some time right now and gather your materials.
And as we share that 2 minutes, I'm going to share a 2-minute song that Hans recorded for us to have on that first Sunday of online a year ago.
music still sustains us. I'd like to invite anyone who would like to share in the chat what items they've gathered to create a sacred space. Your fabric scraps, candles, mugs of coffee, family pictures. Dried flowers, homemade candles. Potted seeds, homemade bread. We pulled together, a tiny rose plant. We pulled together all of these sacred spaces spread out across our town and our world, and weave them together into this collective sacred space we hold together.
Our next song was written and performed about 6 months into the pandemic, when we'd all settled in for the long haul, with many varying degrees of comfort, discomfort, grief, matter-of-factness, and more. The Keep Going On song is by a singer-songwriter spouse band called the Bingsons. They wrote this song after having been on tour away from their home in New York City. They were in Louisville on tour when the pandemic began and went to their parents' house in Ohio and ended up staying there for months and months and months and months. And this song is from a home concert that they performed from that space. And I remember as I listened to it, the many, many times where we thought maybe we were halfway through. And the many, many times where we thought we were nowhere near halfway through. And all of the times we hit a wall and then kept going, because what else can you do? And I turned many times to this song, Just Keep Going. This is the Keep Going On song. The artists are pictured in this video sitting next to each other in a small room in front of microphones. The singer is a woman with light skin and dark curly hair in a colorful Universe jacket. And next to her is a light-skinned bearded man in a floral Hawaiian shirt and glasses playing the guitar. This is the Keep Going On song.
This is the keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going on song. This is the keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going on song. This is a keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going on, keep going on song. I am Abigail, and this is Sean, and we're so glad that you've turned this on and welcomed us into your home, and you are welcome into our home. We're in Dayton, Ohio. We're in Sean's parents' house.
My parents' house.
Sean's parents' house. We were in Louisville when the shit hit, and we packed our 3-year-old into a car. We drove kind of far. We drove here, and we've been so lucky and blessed to be safely here. And we thought we'd be here for like 10 days, tops.
What did we know?
What did we know?
What
What did we know? We thought we knew a lot. We thought we knew a lot. Keep going, keep going, keep going on. Keep going on song. This is a keep going, keep going, keep going on. Keep going on song. This is a keep going, keep going, keep going on. Keep going on song. And we've been mostly healthy. We've been okay. Are you okay? Are you all right? Are you okay? Are you all right? Are you okay? I hope your body is whole tonight. And if your heart is breaking, I hope it's breaking open. And if your breath is shaking, I hope it's shaking through. And I hope that you've watched a lot of really great television, like a lot of it. And I hope that you find a hand lotion that actually makes your skin feel better. And I hope that you have enough to eat. I hope you're getting enough sleep, and I hope you have enough good company or enough good memory to last you a long time. Keep going, keep going, keep going on. Keep going on song. We sing the keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going on. Keep going on song. Let's bring some joy into the room, why not? We could try it, or some rage, and some grief and relief. Ooh, I hold my rage, I pray my rage is a fire that cleans my mind out and makes me ready to listen. I pray my pain is a river that flows to the ocean that connects my pain to yours. And I pray my happiness is like pollen that flies to you and pollinates your joy. Oh boy, is that possible? I don't know, we are making this up as we go. We have to make it up as we go. The keep going song, the keep going song. Oh, we're making it up as we go. Keep going on. Keep going on song. And I pray that when we meet again, that the world has changed into the world that we are imagining now together. And I pray that the world has become the world that we're planting inside of ourselves for each other and for our ancestors and for our kids. Ooh, and we're gonna start. This is a rough beginning. That's all I've got is a rough beginning to offer you. We're gonna start by singing some songs in this tiny space together. We're just gonna sing some songs for you, and we hope that when you hear them, you will feel a little bit less alone, and we will feel a little bit less alone in the work and in the hurt, and we will be together tonight somehow, whenever this is, wherever this is. We will be together tonight for the keep going on. Keep going on song. This is a keep going on. Keep going on song. is a keep going on. Keep going on song. This is a keep going on. Keep going on song. This is a keep going on. Keep going on.
The way that our community has held one another in heart throughout this time is part of what has helped me keep going. I hope that it has helped you keep going too. Now, as we share an image of lit candles and our joys and sorrows stones on the screen, I'd like to invite you to bring your loving attention and compassionate presence to our community as we do each week, as we share the joys and sorrows and prayers of our people. Let us hold one another in heart across the distance, remembering our connections, feeling that we are not alone as we face life's sorrows and joys. I have one joy and sorrow submitted at our website, and then I invite you to share yours in the chat. We join our hearts with Minnie McPherson, who shares great joy in receiving a match for the Community Connections Project partnership, looking forward to getting to know one another better over the course of the coming months. We hope everyone participating in that project has a wonderful experience, and we share that joy. And we share your joys and sorrows. With one beloved, we share a joy that they went to a friend's birthday party who turned 29. We share healing wishes to Mary, who is on day 7 of a brown recluse spider bite. Healing wishes to you. We join our hearts with Angie sharing sorrow for painful endings and joy for new beginnings. We join our hearts with Megan, who shares sorrow for her brother in a motorcycle accident yesterday with his wife. We send him healing wishes as he's still in the hospital, but share in gratitude that there are no major issues for the most part. And we realized that it was Kira with the spider bite, not Larry. The shared device problem. Thank you, and healing wishes to you, Kira. We join our hearts with the Mudricks, sharing the same joy as Mindy at this Community Connections project. We join our hearts with Pack, who asks for our prayers for Marvin Rogers, a friend of the church recovering at Boone Hospital from surgery for a brain tumor. And we join our hearts with friend of the church, George Bunier, who lost his sister to COVID this week. Our condolences to George. We join our hearts with Tonette, who shares the joy of being able to celebrate a grandson's birthday. And as we finish our time of joys and sorrows, I'd like to invite you for a moment to be with the grief that we have experienced in this time. All the different kinds of grief that we have experienced. Loss of beloved ones. Loss of the ability to gather and celebrate the lives of our beloved ones whom we've lost. Loss of physical presence to one another, of all the things our community would have been doing, of all the things you and your family would have liked to have been doing. Loss of jobs, income, security. Loss of relationships. There are so many things that we have been grieving in this last year. Today, we mark that we have lost in our country 530,000 precious beloved ones to COVID-19 and more than 2.5 million worldwide. Each life full and complex and beautiful and precious beyond our imagining. And we name the many other losses that we have experienced. I'd like to invite you into a ritual moment to hold that grief with one another. To put what you are most deeply grieving in the chat to be read. And then I'd like to invite you to close your eyes and put your hands over your heart and think of someone in our community or in your community whom you are holding in heart as we grieve together, connected one to one to one, each to each and each to all. A great net of hearts and love holding this grief that is too profound to hold alone. Hold one another in that grief. If you want to share it in the chat, I will read it aloud. I will speak it into our space. Loss of physical presence and the touch of friends and family. Loss of faith in our fellow human that people care for the stranger. Loss of times that we could have been with children, beloved ones. Grief for Duke now romping in the summer lands. Loss of touch and hugs, downward spiral of struggling children in isolation and virtual learning. We hold these things together. Together we are strong enough to hold them. The poet Jan Richardson writes in her Blessing for the Brokenhearted, an epigraph from Henry David Thoreau, "There is no remedy for love but to love more." She writes, "Let us agree for now that we will not say the breaking makes us stronger, or that it is better to have this pain than to have done without this love. Let us promise we will not tell ourselves time will heal the wound when every day our waking opens it anew. Perhaps for now it can be enough to simply marvel at the mystery of how a heart so broken can go on beating, as if it were made for precisely this. As if it knows the only cure for love is more of it. As if it sees the heart's sole remedy for breaking is to love still. As if it trusts that its own persistent pulse is the rhythm of a blessing we cannot begin to fathom, but will save us nonetheless. We have learned that our hearts are so strong, even when broken. Our prayer response is the song Comfort Me from our Teal Hymnal by Mimi Bornstein, arranged and performed in the following video by Unfolding, a band made up of Laura Weiss and Sarah Jebian. The image is a black background with a single white candle burning in the center. The lyrics appear at the top of the screen, and we will also share them in the chat. You are invited to sing or move or respond at home.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me. Comfort me, oh my soul. Stay with me, stay with me, stay with me, oh my soul. Stay with me, stay with me, stay with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Pray with me, pray with me, pray with me, oh my soul. Pray with me, pray with me, pray with me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul.
In a year that we have lost so much, I want to invite you on this anniversary to be gentle with yourself, especially if you are inexplicably crabby or stressed or depressed. The body keeps the score and the heart remembers. And we are collectively, as a country, as a world, as a community, marking a traumaversary. One year later, my central message is just to invite us to be so tender with ourselves and with one another. You might not even recognize what you're experiencing as directly related to the pandemic anniversary. But if you're just a little quicker to anger or cry or hysterically laugh, if your feelings are close at hand or if they're numb, all of it is normal and understandable. And all of it, as we have seen, is survivable together. Reach out, please, if you need help. Reach out to check in on one another as you have been doing all along. And of course, an anniversary is also a chance to take stock, to reflect upon what we have lost, what we have gained, and what we have learned. And so in this work of taking stock, I solicited reflections on Facebook to make a collective poem. I gave people the prompt 1 year later and asked them to complete the sentence with a line and told them that I would mush them all together, edit them into a poem. And so here is the wisdom of a collective. Contributors were Rachel Hayes, Kathy Bergman, Sarah Leonard, Monica Clark Robinson, Calder Thorpe, Karen Bray, Kate Wilkinson, Heidi Shearer, Robin Duple, Puck Glass, Sean Dennison, Elaine Martin, Rebecca Graves, Leah Angiri, Janice Miracle, Mary Hales, and Nora Dietzel. These are their words. 1 year later, a collective poem. One year later, the daffodils return to my garden. The birds in the backyard give scant company. 1 year later, and we are even more ourselves. So much of people's inner lives have been amplified and revealed. 1 year later, I still burst into tears at video concert recordings, astonished that hundreds of people sang and clapped and breathed together. 1 year later, I know how to navigate the unemployment system. I wonder what eating in a restaurant will feel like. I still haven't met my niece. 1 year later, we realize our naivete at the beginning. We sleep, we rise, we count the dead, we count our blessings. 1 year later, I am more tired and yet more awake to the world. I'm learning to appreciate what I still have. 1 year later, I wonder, am I broken or too pliable and in need of a break? Are we resurrected or too resilient and in need of a rest? 1 year later, grief is as raw as day one. All my pants are soft now. 1 year later, we dream of bear hugs and one-arm squeezes. We long to see the inside of the library and the coffee shop we never knew we'd ever miss. 1 year later, joy comes from small and simple things. Sorrow sits near in companionable silence. 1 year later, we mourn our dead, imagining all of the ways it could have been different. 1 year later, and still we swim in the abyss of uncertainty. Although some of us have aching arms now and a growing hope. 1 year later, we have only begun to realize how much we have lost, how much we have gained, how much we have grown. We'd like to share now a song that UU Churcher Sam Buffalo wrote to mark this moment, this anniversary. Sam will introduce the song in the following video, where he is pictured, a man with light skin and dark curly hair, in a black and white image. Sam is in multiple different squares, singing and playing guitar, bass guitar, piano, and drums. Please enjoy.
Good morning. One of the most visible things I've done during the pandemic has been to record music and make videos, including 7 Unitarian hymns. To cap off the year, I decided to write my own song, detailing some of the other experiences I've had during the past year. Some of the experiences mentioned in the song might be unique to my family, and others might be more universal. But my goal was to capture a slice of what made the past year different than any year any of us have been through before. It's called In the Year the World Slowed Down, and I hope you enjoy it.
We'll pass it now to Tim to introduce our offering. This morning's to introduce this morning's Faith to Action Collection presenter. Thanks, Tim.
Now is the time in our service when we join in the spiritual practice of generosity, guiding our hearts away from the fear and scarcity all around us, and remembering that it is by sharing and supporting one another that we feel most human. This morning's offering is a Faith to Action collection for the Worley Street Roundtable. And we are so pleased that the director, Brittany Fatoma, is with us to tell us about all their work. All this morning's offerings will go to the Worley Street Roundtable. Ms. Fatoma, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning again. My name is Brittany Fatoma, and I am the Executive Director of Worley Street Roundtable. And as some of you may already know, Worley Street is a grassroots organization founded in 2014 by a group of concerned grad students and community members. The purpose of Worley Street is to address issues of disproportionality, educational disparities, and the overall lack of access and CPS for students and families from marginalized communities right here in Columbia. Monthly, Worley Street holds virtual community forums where previously we had community dinners to address educational issues and strategize around solutions while providing support to educators and families. Some of our current initiatives are ICU, Teachers of Color Support Network, where we seek to support and retain Black and Brown educators here in Columbia. We have advocacy for parents of students in the special education program through a partnership with Tips for Kids at Mizzou. And we also have our newly formed committee that's addressing the disproportionalities in the CPS gifted program. We greatly appreciate the Unitarian Universalist Church of Columbia for this gracious invitation and the very generous financial support. There are two words I want to leave with you all that has helped me during this time. It's gratitude and joy. In life, we cannot choose what happens to us, but there are two things we can choose: gratitude and joy. A song written by Isaac Cates, a world-renowned Black artist from Kansas City, says, "You can't take my joy because I got it from the Lord. My joy is from the Lord. I got it from the Lord. Wherever or whomever your joy comes from, no one can take it away." As for gratitude, we have to be intentional about naming, what am I truly grateful for? It can be easier to notice the challenges. However, I admonish you to choose joy and gratitude. If I shared all the things I have experienced in the last month and even year, some of you may wonder, how am I even sane and even present in this moment? It is because of two things: joy and gratitude. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Brittany, for joining us today for the important work of the Roundtable. I'd like to remind everyone to give as generously as you are able at our giving link and to select Faith to Action so that all of this morning's offerings can go to the work of the Worley Street Roundtable. Our offering music this morning is from UUCC's The Otten Family, a song that they created for us a few months back. In this video, Sam Otten plays the piano, and then he is joined one by one by all three of his older children. The baby doesn't join to play. While we enjoy their song, we encourage you to visit that donation link, posted in the chat and on the slide, and give as generously as you are able to the Worley Street Roundtable's important work. On the day Thank you, Ottens, for that. Our closing words are from the Reverend Wayne Arneson. We have been using them every Sunday for 52 Sundays since that first day we scrambled to get online, to keep our church together, to keep each other safe. We share them again with you today. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. Even now, especially now, you are not alone. We are with you across any distance. Go in blessing, dear ones, and be a blessing to a world that needs our care. Let us sing our benediction.
No one leaving one another, may we give of hand and heart. Let us share our benediction, lovingly before we part.
Dear ones, I am holding in heart a not too terribly distant future when we are going to hold hands and sing together again. Until then, we'll see you online next week. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a part of this community and all of the ways that we care for one another and for our larger community, and that we stay connected. We'd love to invite you to join us for coffee hour in another Zoom room. The link will be posted. The meeting ID and passcode are on the slide. This is a chance for you to see one another face to face, to break up into smaller groups and have a deep check-in and time of catching up with one another. We invite you to join us for coffee hour, and we'll see you next week. Take care.